The Lunatics Act of 1845 compelled counties and boroughs to provide asylum accommodation for lunatics within their area. Built in 1852, St John's Hospital was originally known as the Lincolnshire County Pauper Lunatic Asylum. Initially housing 438 patients, the hospital was set in the grounds of 120 acres. Locked doors, high walls and heavy gates made escaping difficult. Patients were initially incarcerated in the hospital, treated more like prisoners than patients. Electric shock treatment and lobotomies were performed in the early stages of the hospital's history. Over the years, healthcare legislations improved and the hospital transformed, becoming more of a home for patients.
I worked at St John's Hospital for about 10, 12 years and I was on the maintenance and had to go all over the hospital. It was a nice place to work. You know, as I say, people were friendly. Sometimes people were under pressure, but as you were working, wherever you were working, you were offered a cup of tea, you were under no pressure. To some people it would seem a little bit frightening or whatever, but once you got used to it, there was a good atmosphere everywhere you went. I suppose 100 years after it opened, the patients I came across, well, I don't know whether happy is the right word, but okay in their environment. You know, there were some people from perhaps the war that had got shell-shocked and were there and there was nowhere else for them to go, but they were all okay. They were institutionalised and there was no reason for them to escape because there were even some patients that I knew would go over to the John Bull for a pint, you know, and it was just like, as I say, part of the community, but it was a good atmosphere. You know, there was quite a few patients that went home for the weekend and then they would return, you know, but from what it was originally open for, I think it had changed a lot. When I worked there in its latter stages of the hospital, they were treated very well. I think really at the end of the day, there would be a lot less people sleeping on the streets if some of these hospitals were still open, because I think a lot of the people today that are down and outs would be in these hospitals and be treated well, you know, warm and be fed.
I worked there as a nurse for nigh on 20 years. The original cost of each patient was 10 shillings 8 3/4 pence per week. And the cost today would be £90 and 37 pence per week. They originally said that each patient would get a 3-course meal per night, when in actual fact each patient got one 3-course meal once a fortnight. Patients were used for all sorts of work in farming, textile, and they were given money, the hospital, but the hospital did not give the patients any money. 2 people whilst I worked there are the only people I knew that escaped, and the reason they escaped because they worked outside on the farm.
As it was closing, there was a place called the ITU where day patients would go to make cardboard boxes for perfume. Now, as it closed, me and a friend would go down there and take all the patients to play football. One day we got caught by one of the charge nurses and we hid, and The only reason we got caught because the people we were playing with were singing the tune to Match of the Day. We all hid behind the bushes and we were going shh, shh, and then we're going da, 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 da. We got caught.
My name is Lynn Norton, I'm 52 years old and I'm currently front of house staff at the homestead. The pub originally was part of the asylum. Originally it was the head doctor's house. It's had numerous uses. The last one I think was for children's home. There was children with mental health problems and also children belonging to patients that were in the hospital. Yeah, originally the hospital was self-sufficient. It had a farm, kept animals and also agricultural. It was basically the centre of the village. Everyone that lived in the village worked or had something to do with the hospital. So all the sports clubs were here. The hospital had a cricket team, badminton team, bowling team, just about everything. All I can go on for how they were treated is what I've seen, and as a child growing up, my parents both worked in the hospital, my grandparent did. And from what I saw, or what I was allowed to see, they were treated fine. You didn't see the worst cases. I was kept away from them. I don't remember any escaping. The ones that weren't too badly affected were allowed out into the community anyway, so there's quite a few of the patients that most people in the village knew. But I don't remember any escaping, no. Well, it just seems to have been here forever now.
Finally, after 137 years, the hospital closed down in 1989 and its patients were transferred to other establishments. To this date, the hospital stands derelict, empty and decaying. Planning permission is currently being reviewed to renovate the Grade 2 listed hospital into modern apartments and residential dwellings. It will be interesting to see what the future holds for this iconically historic building.